I will be using an AI generated 70.3 Ironman plan to train and do my Ironman in September 12th, 2026. Welcome to the second video in the Ironman 70 point here in Wisconsin. Wanted to start off with this time about where did we start? How did we get to this point? I've signed up a while ago, needed to get the ball rolling and whatnot. So just full send, went ahead, signed up for it, having zero experience ever doing any type of race like event and or really anything super competitive like this before. I used to do a bunch of weightlifting, again, about 10 years of doing stuff like that, with about 2 to 3 years of doing it very consistently, and to a point where I was actually starting to get compliments from family and friends, which made me feel really, really great. And had a gym buddy that I was going with. Again, in the last episode, I got all sad and teared up about it because I had lost my workout buddy. I could have kept going down the route of just gaining bigger and bigger muscle, but instead I decided to do my own thing after our break. And for whatever reason, I fell into the endurance route. Probably because I was told before, why aren't you a better runner? Why can't you do this more? And I honestly hate running and I hate swimming, and biking's fun, but everything else I wasn't really a fan of. But I also really like doing hard things. I like challenging myself. And I didn't find the same level of enjoyment out of weightlifting as I do for the endurance stuff. Sorry, gym bros and everybody else out there who might find it equally great, or maybe they found that they loved weightlifting more. I apologize. It just wasn't for me. This is who I am. Yeah. So it just took a lot, like a lot for me to gain and put on the muscle, and not certain things I was willing to do just to have some vanity flexes in the gym, even though the compliments and everything else felt good. But now I explain it to my other friends that endurance running and endurance training has been a lot like squatting for me, in that I hated squatting. I hated doing the squat rack, the bar on my shoulders, and everything else until I started actually doing it. And what I mean by that is actually consistently on specific days, making sure that my leg days, whatever, included a squat, and kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, to the point where I was finally getting better at it. It didn't hurt so much, the position that you're in. The movement felt more natural. I was able to put on more and more and more weight. And that's the part that felt really good, is when you're finally able to do a squat and actually move some decent amount of weight. That's when squatting actually kind of feels great, right? So endurance running and endurance training is along those same lines. Once I got up to a point where I was doing 5 miles, I think it was, to a point where it didn't hurt so much, it started feeling a lot better. And I started enjoying it, started getting addicted to it. And we'll talk about rest days and everything else, but if I don't get a run in now, if I don't get a good 1 hour workout where I'm just constantly moving nonstop, whatever, the day just doesn't feel good anymore. Anyways, got a little bit off on a tangent, endurance training versus weightlifting. We can get into that maybe on a different day. So starting off the Ironman process, when I first started doing it, one of the things that excited me the most was all of the learning that I was going to have to do to get more experienced in the sport, just on an educational level, because I've never really run or swam or biked for competition or endurance, let alone I didn't have a swimsuit, goggles, or any of the other 500 items that you need to compete in triathlon. I didn't have a bike. I have running shoes. They're getting pretty old though, so I think I got about 400 miles on them now, probably pushing closer to 5 pretty soon, and we'll need a new pair of running shoes. So basically I'm starting at zero. I have literally nothing to compete for a triathlon that I already signed up for. And then on top of that, I have never planned a triathlon training. I have never tried to run a half marathon, let alone a marathon. So basically starting at ground zero, and this was back in October. First things first, right? What should you do? What did I do? I asked an experienced triathlete, someone who has done this before, someone who has literally worked right next to me, and often I could throw a rock at him every day. He has done a couple Ironmans, and so I went to him for advice first and asked, what's the best way to do this? How do I go about training for an Ironman, which I do, which I think about, and he gave some decent advice. advice. And I wasn't going to use this because I thought it, it's got like this kind of ick factor to it because, and even the title of this episode, you're probably like, oh, I'm just clicking on it because it's clickbait at this point. But he even suggested, why don't you just use AI? Why don't you use AI? They do a pretty good job at making a plan for you if you have nothing else to go off of. Based off of this 10-year vet, this person who has done 3 full Ironmans, a dozen, if not more, half Ironmans, tells me, go use AI. It actually does a decent job. I think somebody in his family or somebody else that he knew created an AI plan, and he probably looked at it and liked it and was like, yeah, that's good enough. I mean, I didn't have too many other people in my sphere of influence, in my circle here, that was doing triathlons other than this person. I decided, okay, great. I am technologically savvy. I do not shun AI. I welcome it. I use it for other things in my life, like I'm sure most of you at this point have done or do. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's make an AI plan. Did that, and I will be using an AI-generated 70.3 Ironman plan to train and do my Ironman in September 12th, 2026. With that, did I leave it alone at just doing an AI plan? No. I did ask AI tons of questions. What is periodization? What is training? What does it look like? What does a good week look like? How many hours do we need to put into a week? What are the pros doing? If you want to ask great questions, go look at the pros, see what they're doing, and maybe pare it down for yourself. That's a way of doing it, one option. What are all the acronyms, man? Like CrossFit has their own acronyms, weightlifting has their own acronyms, and so of course does triathlon. Tons of different acronyms. What do they mean? What is RPE? What is the zones that you want to think about when you're running? What is an Olympic versus sprint versus Ironman versus full Ironman? What is an ultra? What is doing hill repeats? What does that look like? What zones should you be in? I already said zones, but zones are a big deal. I have learned and found out, and there's just so much, and it's just like for me personally, love it. Like it's so great because I really love learning. I like learning new things, and when I'm especially motivated and super into it, like I'm gonna go all in. So yeah, like be my coach, create me a plan, and then give me that weekly breakdown of what I'm going to be doing day by day. What do I need to focus on? How am I supposed to be feeling? And by having this create the plan, it invited a lot more questions, which gave me good ideas to like ask a YouTube search and look at videos and what do I need to focus on? And I think what it actually spit out was relatively good. And I've tried to recreate it multiple times, and I ran into a couple of roadblocks because every time I've tried to recreate it from the first time I've made this plan, it kept condensing and consolidating and making like a light version of it where it kind of felt empty or hollow, like more of it tailored to an experienced triathlete who kind of knows how many hours they should be putting in each week, how many hours this ride should be, how to increase intensity through the build phase, how to incrementally go up each week, and et cetera. So like it skipped all of that every single time I tried to recreate it. It skipped all that information, and I wanted that. I thought it made the plan feel really full, and it gave me a lot of great rationale and detail into what I was supposed to be doing that day, that week. And it even gave some insight into maybe how you're supposed to be feeling after that workout, how exhausted. And then it went into RPEs, relative physical intensity. Honestly, I can't even remember what RPE stands for off the top of my head. Woe is me. But like 7 or 8, so that's like pushing it almost at race pace, another thing, right? So pushing it at a high intensity. What zones should you be staying in for this workout? And on and on and on. And it gave such great detail. And I just really loved the format. I loved everything about it. So I spent a lot of time trying to recreate a prompt that is going to then generate this for anybody. And that's kind of what I did. So I spent the last couple of days just kind of going through the plan and working with my GPT and trying to figure out how to create a prompt that will allow any athlete who puts in their input form to then create a plan that's tailored specifically to them, to you. And I want to give it to y'all. And if you want to use this, great. If you don't, that's fine. If you want to hate on it, leave it in the comments. If you want to give me critiques as to what other things you could think about, also leave it in the comments. But don't knock it until you try it. And honestly, so for my 70.3, my journey, whatever you want to call it, I am using a AI plan to get me to where I need to be, a competitive age group athlete in an Ironman. And I will be sticking to this plan all the way through and tweaking it and tailoring it as I need to, because no plan is perfect. Other than using AI and asking questions and YouTube and friends and whatnot by Joe, I also picked up the book, The Triathlete's Bible, which in hindsight, after reading the first chapter, I think he says, hey man, if you're not an experienced triathlete, like this book isn't for you. Put it down, go pick up my Triathlete for Beginners book. That book is more tailored for you. This book is more for those experienced triathletes who have done this once or twice or 3 times, who has been in it for a couple years, and this is going to tailor their training. I'm like, well, I already bought the book. Audible won't let me refund this credit. I don't have any more credits. I'm not going to pick up the beginner's book. So I just went ahead and read the Triathlon Bible by Joe. And I'm not saying his last name because I'll screw it up, but by Joe. And I've learned a lot from him on what a good plan is supposed to look like and how to make one by yourself and things to think about and consider. And I got that PDF that comes with the book with all of the pictures and the annexes and everything else that allows you to make a tailored plan to yourself that is changeable on the fly, because trying to change an AI prompt to very, very specific things is incredibly hard. So again, this year I'm going to use my AI trainer because I don't have enough money to pay an actual coach to train me in all the events that I need to be trained on and, you know, look at me every single day and what am I supposed to be doing, because I am self-coached with AI. After reading the Joe book and the training Bible, next year, maybe for the full Ironman, when I attempt that in 2027, I will make my own training plan and I will use what I've learned from that book. I'll probably reread it again, but tons and tons and tons and tons of invaluable information within that book that will allow you to be intelligent on how you want your AI to help prompt you and coach you along the way if this is the route that you so choose to do, like myself. Again, this kind of came out of scarcity. I don't have a lot of money to spend on coaching and everything else that I need in order to do the half Ironman for Wisconsin. But so I'm finding my own ways and how I want to tweak my experience. And for me personally, other than investing in the race itself, I wanted to invest in a bike. So that's where I spent most of my money. Where I spent pretty much all of my money was on buying a bike. And I can go through that in a different episode on different levels and stuff on bike selections. There's tons of videos out there already that I used on YouTube on bike selection and what to look for, first triathlon bikes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on and on and on. There's tons and tons and tons of videos out there on the price, cost, averaging of Ironmans and everything that goes into it. And as anybody already knows, the bike is the most probably pricey part of triathlon, but it's also the most fun and enjoyable part as well, and the most time spent on it. So like, you got to give and take. There's a couple of things you're working with in triathlon that are your biggest constraints, which is your time and your money. And especially if it's your first one, you're going to be spending a good amount of money. But if you find it enjoyable, it's going to be so worth it. All right, so I am actually going to provide to you the prompt. I'm going to show you what the training plan looks like. And hopefully if you put it into your GPT, you'll get something very similar and share your experience with me. If you do use this prompt, if you do like it, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. It lets me know that I'm doing something right and providing something back to the community, which is something I am very passionate about as well. Let's get into the actual prompt and what the plan looks like. All right, so before I show you the prompt, this is what came out of the plan. So half Ironman 73.3, my training started back in October. Date, duration, which I had 50 weeks to start training, which hopefully was enough. Making that quick realization that endurance doesn't just happen overnight. It's over a very long and accumulated journey to get to an endurance athlete. Something I've learned and have really taken to heart because I also don't want to get injured. I want to be a very competitive athlete in my age group, and I don't have time to work through an injury. A consideration for myself while making a plan was, how do I also stay safe? And listen to everybody else who says things about rest days, which we'll get into again. But having that humbling moment of, no, my plan says this, I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to change it because my plan says this, and I'm not smarter than the plan. I have never done this before. I need to focus on doing it verbatim. That was my mentality going into it this year. So yep, give me a goal of what I want to do. Half Ironman, explain periodization for me, the weekly structure of what I'll be doing. It gave me kind of an example weekly breakdown, intensity and effort explained to me, progression and recovery, what I should be looking at for strength and mobility, tune-up races. I didn't know what a tune-up race was, which I think I got one scheduled for June here in Lake Mills. Things to think about for nutrition recovery, weekly training plan breakdown, endurance techniques, and then it got into the weeks. So week 1, starting the journey. Mondays were my rest days, and you can edit that in your own. And I thought I did a pretty dang good job of breaking this down. Very readable. It felt very full to me. I understood exactly what I was supposed to be doing on that day. How was I supposed to be feeling? How hard was I supposed to be pushing it? And in this one, I was experiencing some Achilles pain. So I wanted it to also kind of give me a plan to not strain that even further. I think I was playing pickleball at the time, and I did like a quick turn sprint, and I felt some pressure in my Achilles. I didn't like that. So when I first made this plan, I said, hey, give me also a plan that focuses on strengthening my Achilles, my tendons, and also I don't want to get injured. So I think it did a really good job at breaking every day down, 3-mile run, easy, 30-minute comfortable pace. Give me a lot of great detail in each day. So I would just reference this in the morning and be like, all right, what am I doing today? And I would have a really good feeling of what I was supposed to be accomplishing each day. Again, and this was just something that I could not get GPT to replicate. Again, every time I've tried to recreate this plan, this exact plan, even by going into the prompt and saying, here is the plan you have given me. I want this exact copy. It still would not give it to me. It would keep shrinking it. It would keep making it more efficient and give really small bulleted lists, and it would repeat weeks over and over again. And it would repeat the same things over and over and over again. And it would not give me this super awesome, in-depth and detailed copy. It just wouldn't do it. And that's why it took me days to try to figure out how to recreate this specific thing. And when I say days, I mean, I only have a couple hours here and there to work on stuff outside of training, work, kids, family. And that's why it took me days. I'm sure some of you can figure this out in 5 seconds. It's not like, this isn't like rocket surgery here. So swim and whatnot. I gave it where I was at currently in triathlon, which was 0. So obviously for me, it starts off really silly light and builds you up. I found that my experience kept building up pretty quickly. Hence why I decided I wanted to retailor the plan, because I was doing more than it was asking for, even though I just said, I'm going to do exactly what the plan says. So that didn't work out for me. 4 months in, after I got really consistent, really into each of the events and getting better and seeing progress that was more than what this plan was telling me I should experience, and still feeling really good. A lot of vibe checking on the body as I run, swim, and bike, constantly asking, how does this feel? How does my legs feel? How do my knees feel? How do my hips feel? Am I tight? Does something hurt? Do I need to slow down? And then after the workout and in the morning when I wake up, again, analyzing my body. How do I feel? Am I going to really push it today, or am I going to stay in zone 1 and 2? I got to do a better job at that. But a lot of vibe checking on the body. And then at the end of the week, at the end of each week, I said, give me a week's rationale. So other than the 5 days that you have planned for me, got a good detail on what's going on each of those days. And then at the end of the week, tell me what I'm doing this week. Why am I doing it this week? Give me some things that I needed to focus on, why this week was important, why I was doing everything I needed to be doing, and what I should be getting out of that week. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It gave me this great rationale, and it does this for 50 weeks. All 50 weeks are laid out in here. And it went even a step further for me. Even was like, look, focus on cadence running, encouraging efficient form, reducing the Achilles strain, swimming distances increasing a bit, adding kick drill. It just blew my mind, how well this thing laid it out. And I still need to work on the prompt itself that generates the new one, because it's close, but it's not perfect. This I thought was perfect, and I don't even think I even thought twice about the prompt I was feeding it to get something this awesome. And I think it's awesome because I have nothing else to compare it to. I don't have a coach. And that's why I'm looking at you guys. Help me out. Tell me how shitty or awesome this is. Yeah, but yeah, 50 weeks of this. And then it even planned out, do a 5K holiday run. It's Thanksgiving, do a turkey trot. It's Christmas, do a holiday run. Run through the lights. Tells me, hey, you're probably going to have light work on this Christmas break. It even planned out my tune-up races, even though I didn't feed it to them. It just took a guess as to when I should be doing some of these tune-up races, my sprint and Olympic triathlons prior to the half Ironman. And he even put that in the plan for me, and I didn't even ask for that, which I thought which is awesome. Just things I didn't consider moving into it. All right. So that is the plan. Yeah, if you want a copy of the plan, I don't have a way for you all to reach out to me. Maybe search TK on Life on Instagram and shoot us a direct message with your email, and I will shoot you a copy of this plan. The prompt I'm just going to throw in the comments here in the narrative of this video. So if you want to look down into that, I will throw the prompt I used to generate this plan, or to try to regenerate this plan, and we'll go into how to utilize that. All right, so here is here's the prompt. So it starts off, there's two phases to it. So there's an intake form. So what you would do is you would copy all of these questions first, this whole thing, copy this whole thing. And again, it's gonna be down in the bottom, and then answer these questions for yourself. Background, you can read it, but yeah, answer these questions. And it works the best if you answer them in paragraph format or sentence formatting versus using hard numbers and whatnot, so that the GPT can get a feel of who you are and what you want. And heck, you can even put in like how you want the coach to respond. Do you want a more warm? Do you want a more strict? What do you want? What kind of personality do you want this coach to have? Heck, even give it a coach you enjoy and see what happens. But yeah, you answer all these questions on the intake form, so it has something to reference. And once you answer all these questions, you copy and paste this whole thing into your GPT. It'll spit out intake form generated, awaiting complete intake. So the intake then will be the actual prompt itself, which is this massive thing that guides the GPT on how to think, act, and structure its response. Due to the length of this manuscript, it's probably going to spit back to you, hey, I can't do this all in one shot. I can do this in a couple different ways. Which ways do you want this to be done? So for me, I've always chosen, do one thing at a time. So give me my cover letter, give me my build phase, give me my peak phase, taper, etc. Like build each phase separately on the screen. I get to see it, and I can say, hey, tweak this, tweak that. Or, yep, let's move forward and build up the next section. You can also ask it to put it into a doc file or a PDF file if you want as well. But yeah, once you do the intake form, then you put this into the system. It's going to probably ask you some additional questions, maybe some clarifying questions, and then it will build you your own Ironman 70.3 or full Ironman, whatever your competition is. Maybe if it's a sprint, maybe it's an Olympic triathlon. Test this out. Use it however you want. Make up your own races. It doesn't have to be an Ironman. I want to know if this works for other things as well. Putting this out there in the community so you can go there and grab it, use it yourself, and see how this AI coach feels. Again, this kind of came from lack of resource, lack of funding, and lack of knowledge, and using what resources I have. And in today's date, we have GPT. I mean, it's Google on steroids. And if you have any further level of education, it just makes your experience with the GPT like exponentially better. If you don't have any experience with it, you have to take what it says and fact check it and do even more research or ask it clarifying questions, etc. But if you're already an experienced triathlete, if you're already an experienced person in whatever you're asking the GPT to do, like your knowledge is going to exponentially like go forward and like just take off versus just somebody who doesn't know what's going on. So that's where I'm sitting at. Love to know what you think. Again, I'm going to be using this plan, what it has provided to me, to train for and be hyper competitive in my age group, because I'm not going to also let the plan just dictate how hard I push myself and how consistent I'm going to be. There's a lot of human factor in doing a sport, and that's what I absolutely love about it. This is just a piece of it. The plan is just a piece, but if without a plan, without something to check myself against, and unfortunately I don't have the money for a real life coach, which I plan on doing for my full Ironman, this is what I came up with. And I'm going to be excited to show you the results after I complete my race. So stay with me, hang out, like, follow, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I would love to know your thoughts, and tell me in the comments how you plan on taking on life today.